Hello, everyone. My name is Abrea Armstrong. I am the Executive Director of Tricultural Arts, the preeminent Black cultural and historical organization here in the Triad, and also very much the seed and bloom of Winston-Salem. So I'm so excited to have everybody here. Welcome to the Tray.
That's what's up. Listen, seed and bloom. I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. So you said that you have the camel tattoo.
Yeah,
So
I
what
do.
does the camel represent as it relates to Winston-Salem?
So pride in tobacco is the short answer.
Okay.
So Reynolds is one of the founding sort of fathers and companies here. So that's cigarettes like Newport, Camel cigarettes, of course, American Spirits. So one of our sayings around here is actually thank you for smoking. We appreciate you for supporting our public school system, our roads. Thank you so much. Thank you so much in that regard, of course, if you're of age. And what that looks like and what that means in the same way that people from Durham call them, like they call it the Bull City.
Yeah, for sure.
Here we call Winston-Salem Camel City.
This is my first time ever hearing about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
because
yes.
I always knew, of course, the Reynolds connection, but then also the Krispy Kreme donut, which is right over there.
Yes.
The original location is right over there. So we'll go over there a little bit. Yep, for sure. But we're in Old Salem right now, which you corrected me and you said it's within the city limits of Winston-Salem. So first, if you don't mind, give me your childhood experience being here. Earlier, there were a whole lot of kids. Let me turn the camera around. Earlier, there were a lot of kids running around here.
You still hear them.
I was like, okay, is it spring break? And she was like, no, this is just what we do. This is a rite of passage to be, a person from Winston-Salem. And so give me your experience growing up here and coming here as a kid.
Oh, like you did this. Like I in the same way that I imagine that New York City school kids, they all go to like the Natural History Museum as like a rite of passage in their field trips. It's the exact same thing, but for Old Salem. And so we come here and we would do activities. Like back in the day, we would do things like make these little corn patties and learn sort of basically a foodways. It was basically a foodways tour now that I think about it, which the Moravians are actually kind of known for a lot of the food that they produce, whether it's their cookies, the sugar cake, the Moravian chicken pies.
I used to tear those Moravian chicken pies. I would drive all the way from Charlotte, come up here, get about 3 pies, take them back to Charlotte, freeze them. That's before I had a gluten allergy.
That's it. And it's really funny. When I went to go visit one of my girlfriends who graduated with me from high school here. So here in Old Salem is the longest running all-girls school in the country, Salem Academy, founded in 1772. Okay. I'm actually on the board of trustees for both the academy and the college. I feel like a proper adult, to say the least. But I went to go visit her in Germany, and I was so hungry because the food was not good. And so I was really sort of surprised and sort of taken aback when I kind of connected that Moravians are pretty much kind of a German sect, if you will. And I'm like, damn, the Moravians make really good food. What happened to the rest of this food? My gosh. But yeah, we would do things like corn patties. We would also make these candles. So there are a lot of rituals as being Moravian. I'm not one, but if you are from Winston-Salem, if you live here, by default, you're a de facto.
Even from a cultural perspective.
Exactly, you're a de facto Moravian. You know what a love feast is, and I encourage people to look these things up. And so during the love feast, for example, which happens at Christmas time, it's basically a ritual of light. Honestly, I think it's a winter solstice ritual, but anyway, I got you. You have these sort of red little toily things that you put around the candle. And so as a part of the field trip, you'll often like make the little red things and like assemble the candle, if you will. So like a very sort of hands-on sort of learning the ways in which Moravians lived, right? So we're surrounded by, this actually was an old firehouse, and like the horses would be in there for the firehouse. That house on the corner / the one next to it is the Single Brothers house, and it is exactly what it sounds like, where single Moravian brothers would live. On this side is the Single Sisters house. So
and this is also part of the university.
Yes,
right?
this is now all Salem College. This is Salem College, but and then this is more like Old Salem sort of interpretation type space. But you literally just sort of walk through from the bakery, like we talked about over there. We learn about the bakery, the ways in which they lived, the food they ate, how they made money. So you do things like visit the blacksmith or the tinsmith, right? You learn those sorts of things, and so it's very interactive and it's like ingrained, right, for lack of a better term, into the psyches of all Winston-Salem kids, no matter what color you are.
Here is something very special, I feel like, for history lovers, because most of these buildings are original.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not like a Williamsburg where a lot has been reproduced.
Yes.
For example, yes, these have just been preserved.
Yes.
And I think that's really going to be like the one thing we talk about a lot in this video, right, is preservation. And so whether it was the trustees of home church, because this was a congregation town, so literally you can see the church here, this red roof with the green steeples, with the stained glass windows, that's home church. If it weren't, home church is the reason why pretty much all of this exists. And so the trustees in that church, which is still very successful and prominent in our community to this day, they made certain decisions that allow the town to thrive, whether it was allowing Black congregants to worship with them or not, whether it was allowing enslaved people to be in the town of Salem or not, right? And so it's a lot of this is a consequence of, including the preservation, a consequence of the decisions that happened in that building.
Okay, got you. And I see where the kids cleared out. So can we swing over to the Krispy Kreme original site first, and then we can, and then it's your world.
Oh, it's your world. It's what I make it. It's what I make it.
So you know, this is prior to me having a gluten allergy. Y'all, the first time that I've ever heard of a donut being on a hamburger was here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that donut was a Krispy Kreme donut. Now, I don't know how many calories.
About 3,000.
It has to be, with the cheese, with the bun and everything. But that burger was amazing. And I forgot where I was when I was first introduced to it, but I'm like, man, these folks are crazy. This is definitely not going to be any good.
Yes,
and it was fire.
Yeah. And show the people the interpretive dress, because I want you to see, like, this is a proper, like, old place. You know what I'm saying? Tourism place where you can come here and, like, see people in period dress, and the like. It's like that level of preservation. So I just wanted to just show the infrastructure that has been put into, and you can even see the person back there. I'm pretty sure it's a woman back there. I don't know if she's burning some wood or whatever, but I promise she was something period related.
For sure. Definitely gathering wood.
Yep.
Or putting some back at the moment. So this site right here, you all, for all of our Krispy Kreme donut lovers, this right here was the original. It was the site of the original Krispy Kreme donut shop. It says it right here. Do you know when it was torn down?
Ooh.
No?
I don't ever recall it being here that I can remember, and I was born in 91. That's what I'll certainly say.
Cool. So this was it. So our Krispy Kreme donut lovers, this was the locale.
Yep.
1937, July 13th. That's when it was founded. All right, so I just wanted to go ahead and start there.
No, from us to the world, you're just talking about our export. So along with cigarettes and tobacco, yes, Krispy Kreme is one of our main companies here in Winston-Salem. I just had a meeting yesterday with the CEO of Garner Foods, which is which owns Texas Pete, for example. So that's another one of our key exports. So thank you for using Texas Pete.
There you go.
Boo Tabasco. Tabasco.
All right, so where are we going?
So now we are going to make our way through what a Black person in Salem would have gone through if they wanted to go to church and they wanted to go home after work. So the ways in which Black people would often occupy this part of town were as employees, right? So whether that was in more modern times being a laundress at the academy, or if that was being a potter. The kilns are the foundations of them are down that way a bit. They found just on the outside edge of Old Salem, Peter Oliver's homestead. So he freed himself and as well as his wife Christina, and was a potter. And now one of his descendants, for example, is Chris Paul. So so that family is building a really big memorial for them.
On Finding Your Roots.
There you go. That's it. That's the one. So this is so Peter Oliver came here from Virginia, is my understanding, because of the opportunities that existed for free Black people.
Okay. And let me ask you this real quick, because North Carolina had plenty of communities of free Black folks.
Especially out
Durham,
east.
Shiloh. When you talk about Guilford College, that whole area there. Obviously here there was a population, right? And there may not be large populations, but there's a population. And I feel like oftentimes Black pain is a huge seller. And the sorrow stories, of course, which we validate and we recognize. But there was also greatness that was happening in our freedom albeit that there was probably high anxiety, stress, et cetera, being the fact that your life could still change at the drop of a dime if someone decided to take you, right? But what are your thoughts in making sure that there's a clear balance between the good and the bad?
I always say that Black history is a story of victory. Like, if it weren't a story of victory, we wouldn't be here to tell the story, right? It's this, so even when I'm like trying to build bridges with corporate partners, what I lead with is the story that we tell of is how Happy Hill is a place of true American agency, right? Where people were able to buy their own lands, decide the kind of home they wanted to have on that land, right? Decide the kind of life that they wanted to have in that space, right? So this idea of thinking about what are the American ideals, which of course betrayed us in many ways.
Sure.
You know,
it is what it is.
You know, America's a country founded in error is what I always say. But at the same time, we've been able to always make the most of that. It's that resourcefulness. And that's the story. So it doesn't really take, in my opinion, it doesn't take much balance, just because when you ask yourself what happens after the trauma, it's always victory.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
But you got to get through that piece.
Yeah.
But then also, what are your thoughts about, you know, the sustained trauma that is rooted in history, the continued self-preservation that you have to do in order to survive it, right? So as it relates to that type of work, what are your thoughts around that? Because we do it every day, right?
We all have to decide for like who it is that we want to save and who we want to bring with us and who we want to do it for. And by the way, this is the new home of Salem Academy. That school that I said was founded in 1772. Yeah. They've now moved into this building. The building used to be on the other hill, and they've now moved the girls down into Old Salem proper. Like I said, I'm an alum, and so I always like to call it out, like those girls. And also, they were educating Black women before anybody else was. So the first Black student to matriculate at Salem Academy was Anna Marie Samuels, who matriculated in 1793.
1793, right here. Boom. That's dope.
So, but way before emancipation was even thought of.
Yeah.
Right, as a concept, they were educating Black women in the space. Now, don't get me wrong. She was the selected one. So, like her grandfather was the good Negro of the church. I was like, look, now I don't want to make
There's
no
always
mistakes.
a caveat sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. She was not a random girl.
Right.
To say the least. But as you can see, this neighborhood is full of both current residential homes as well as dwellings that have been repurposed by the Academy and College or Old Salem. And what is important too is you'll see when we get closer to another one of these buildings, especially this blue one down here, which actually inspired the color of the Shotgun House. We kind of use this as a reference point because they're built around the same time.
Now, we're not too far from the Shotgun House.
Oh, no, not at all.
But we got to drive.
We are, because the way the infrastructure is set up, they made sure to put a road.
Oh, wow.
They made sure to put a road in between. But when we get down here, and I'm trying to see if you can see one on this side of the building, but you can't, never mind. But when we get down here, you'll see that there are these little placards that state the years in which, no, that one doesn't say, in years in which the building was built. Yeah, so if you would like to, you're a true history lover and would like to stay in Old Salem, we do have a bed and breakfast here called the Zeverly Inn, which is very much to period and to date and was around at that time. So certainly want to acknowledge that as an opportunity for folks to truly come and engage with the space. So actually, peek over here is really important. So everything.
I see a soccer field and tennis courts.
That's what you see. What I see is the path to Happy Hill.
Okay.
Just beyond those trees, and the fact that this is the road that when you were like, oh, we have to drive, and I'm like, yes, because they made sure to put a road between. That's the road.
But that's what redlining is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll see even a bigger version example of that shortly, certainly.
Hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So shortly, you'll see the even bigger version of this when you see US 52 and how it sort of segmented the community. But just beyond this, those fields is a creek that dips down, and that's where that tree line is. But I just wanted us to sort of stop and take in this idea of how the visual sight line is broken.
Sure.
But where we're going, that's going to look so different from what we see here.
Right.
It was all one thing, right? Like I said, we're literally walking the path of our ancestors, in that if they were coming from work at the academy, this would have been the path. They probably would have cut more directly straight, right? But this would have been similar enough to the path that they would have taken in order to get there. And obviously their path on the way to church.
Yeah.
So here's the ones I was talking about.
Okay. Yep. So they have it identified right here.
So Old Salem has been really thoughtful about documenting and preserving the dates and times of places collectively. So even the buildings that are no longer owned by, whether it's Old Salem Museum and Gardens or Salem Academy and College, still have to adhere to certain preservation standards. Just because, like you see, it's private residence, but they still have to.
Even on the inside of the buildings as well, right?
Exactly. There's certain integrity. That's the historic destination term. You have to maintain integrity. Do you seek
to get on these boards as it relates to, advocating for preservation and inclusivity, or are people knocking down your door and like, yo, come holler at us, like we want you involved? Or is it a mixed bag?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both, and I appreciate those that are intentional about making sure that Black preservation is included. And please watch your ankles through here. Like I said, this is really actually an old place, and these trees have been here for as long as you think they have.
Yeah.
And so that you see that this is also called Church Street. This is one of those streets where the name makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like actually, where the name actually makes sense.
See right there, y'all. Church Street. Boom. Yes, it does make sense.
So, for example, I am on the Green Book, North Carolina Green Books, pretty sure it's 90th anniversary commission, and just thinking about the Green Book sites within the state and what can we do collectively as keepers of those kind of sites. But then also, I think about things like our local tourism board, which I am not on, that I have said to several people, I don't understand.
And that's the Winston-Salem tourism board.
Winston-Salem, Forsyth County specifically, Forsyth County. Tourism authority, I think is the proper term. Okay. But I asked myself, I'm like, I don't see any Black museum folks on there. And so there are those instances where and this is what I mean by, as a city and honestly as a country, we've got to make certain decisions, we already have, let's be clear, have already made certain decisions about what it is that we want to keep. Oh, the honeysuckles, it's springtime, y'all. Everything's just starting to bloom. Yeah, we should. Let's just go smell them real quick. And let's go find out if you're sweet. Let's find out if you're sweet. Are
definitely delving into this nostalgic moment.
Oh, look at these. Oh.
Well, let me see if you know how to do it.
Look now.
No, those aren't. Are they ready?
Are they?
I don't think they're. Let's see.
You go in there and find out.
Take that.
Yeah, you go in there and find out. Yep, I got you.
I don't think that they are. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I remember how to do it. Let's see. No. Let me see another one.
You tried though. You have the right technique.
Yeah. I forgot I had to go. They used to be everywhere. No, they're nowhere near. They will be soon, though.
Yeah. Come back then.
So for those of you in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s that remember the honeysuckles, whenever you needed something sweet.
There you go.
Love it.
Yeah, we love a good heritage props.
For sure.
Yes, so active bee population. So yes, to that point, they've been very, very thoughtful about the pollinators. So there are several sort of gardens, if you will, that are maintained, which is a theme that does carry over into this journey.
Okay.
So welcome.
Here we are.
Welcome to church, y'all.
St. Phillips.
So St. Phillips. So all right, Lord, this is me being like, where to even begin? Because I know that we've already mentioned and talked about home church, which is straight up the block, right?
Which also makes sense why we're on Church Street.
They did this all on purpose. Right? It's like they did this on purpose. So there was a time when, if you were a member of the church, no matter what your race was, as long as you were a member, paid Moravian, you could sit and go to home church.
Okay.
And this is very actually innovative for the South, right? This is
There weren't any slave galleries that were there.
now. Look now. This is the part where you put it on the screen and be like, you know what I'm
She
saying?
said, if I don't know it, I ain't gonna show it.
That's right.
So so we don't know yet. We don't know if there were any slave galleries there.
Yes, I don't, at least. I'm sure someone does,
Sure.
but I don't. I could definitely make a quick call and find out about that for you. So they were allowed to worship in home church. And then the good Moravians, Moravians, I would say as a group, are liberal, right? We're talking about educating girls in the 1770s,
Facts.
Black girls, right? Very, progressive folks. But then they were sort of influenced, if you will, by some of their less progressive neighbors. And we're like, oh, you got Black people worshiping with you? Oh, no, y'all weird. Y'all weird. And that is how St. Phillips Church came to be, was that the Black congregants, actually, really the log church came first.
Okay.
Let's be clear. I guess that's where we should really start.
Sure.
Because
this one said 1861 is when it was erected.
Yeah, the brick church.
Okay.
And so it starts with the log church. And so this is the place in which they came to worship when they could no longer worship in home church. So as we are thinking about what an average Black person would have experienced and the path that they would have walked, whether it's from work at the Salem Academy and College, which you literally just saw, still very much is a real thing, this is part of the path that they would have taken home. And so where this path leads is the sort of next stage in our video. Of course, now it's sort of broken because of a new modern road, right? That's been put in here. But this literally goes straight into Happy Hill, and that's how directly connected the Black church was, as well as Old Salem in general was, to its neighbor.
That is quite interesting.
Yeah, they would just walk.
Now, and
this is Ray Street.
Now, there's no buildings. Happy Hills. So educate me, educate us.
Yeah.
No homes are still there.
Oh yeah.
So it went further. It went farther beyond the soccer field and all of that.
It's on the other side of the creek. Okay. So those trees are bordering a creek. And that creek is called Salem Creek. And the creek is kind of like the railroad tracks, like the highway. It was one of those first original but organic dividers of communities. So what happened was the town of Salem needed a new doctor. And the doctor that they hired was Dr. Schumann, who owned, I want to say, like 20-some enslaved people. And the good Moravians, even though they had kicked out the Black population from home church, they were like, well, I don't know about you having all these enslaved people in Salem. That's kind of a lot.
Right.
That's kind of a lot. So what they said was, hey, we've got this property across the creek, and so you can turn that into your plantation. And then just serve us here. So that is actually the original story of how Happy Hill got Black people in the first place. But then after emancipation happened, that plantation was broken up into parcels and became the first planned Black community in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
And so there's this legacy of Black people being on the land for centuries, though part of that portion was, of course, us being enslaved on that land. But this is one of those true American agency stories of like, we went from being property to owning property and deciding for ourselves that, hey, we don't want our houses to look like this. We want our houses to look like the houses that we remember from West Africa. So it's also a wonderful motif of how we didn't just come from nowhere. We remembered who we were. We remembered our culture. We remembered our homeland. But it also is very much an example of what happens when certain things are saved and valued and other things are not. So yeah, so that's.
Should we? Can we go down this way and shoot up?
Sure, we can. Sure, we can.
You mind burning those type of calories?
Look now, you really got me out here. I did wear my sneakers.
She has her sneakers, and I'm coming from a presentation, and I got these on.
Oh.
So that hurt my feet a little bit, but
well, I bet they believed every word you said.
I hope so. It was based on historical trauma, and so.
Oh. Well then.
And so there's the Frank L. Horton Museum Center that's here. Have you all done any presentations or anything like that at that center?
No, we have not. And I actually have a meeting with the executive director of Old Salem his name is Terry Taylor, next Friday, to really be thoughtful and intentional about what those sort of partnerships and connections look like. And so on the other side of this is a whole museum. It's called Mesda, and it's like you kind of see all this here together. And so it's about the SDA stands for Southern Decorative Arts, right? And it's the idea of how people lived, which is super important because when we get over to the Shotgun House, that's what it's about. It's about the life in which we lived, right? How do we worship? Look at these beautiful.
It's that time of the year, right?
It is.
I didn't take my allergy medicine, but
I know,
I'm doing okay today.
Oh my gosh, look how beautiful this is.
What are those?
Oh my goodness. I just want to roll around in look how beautiful
you don't have any allergies,
this is. I would suffer through it. I suffered through it for that. My God, that was gorgeous.
It's purple, y'all. The camera is dark on this side, so you may not necessarily be able to see it. But
and again, this is also important. This is the apothecary. This is also important because, again, just the idea of how intentional they've been about preservation, beautification, right? Gardening, that sort of thing. And you'll see what that looks like in Happy Hill these days. Yeah. But yeah, they made a decision. And then that utopia was just, just vaporized, right?
Yeah. And so that tavern, straight ahead, you all, that is where it was said General George Washington, as well as the first president of these quote unquote United States, visited.
Yes, and in fact, now the tavern, which still serves as a restaurant, has been bought by a local black church. Yes,
really?
Go ahead.
This tavern?
Yep.
It was bought by a local black church?
And
they're turning it into
a restaurant, still a restaurant.
Really?
But just, their stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so
this is it. Check it out. I got to come here and eat. I got to come here and eat. So this is the menu, or just the old menu.
Let's see. It's been winter time, So this is definitely look what's on this menu. Yeah, bread. Yeah. That's us. That's it. Yeah.
Bread of Heaven Soul Food. Okay.
Yep.
So if you're in Winston-Salem, come check them out.
Are they? Oh, hey, y'all cooking? Are you open? They're open.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come get some shots of the tavern. They also have. You have a bar, right? Still? You still have your liquor license? No. Oh.
It smells amazing in here. Man, it smells good.
Coffee shop has wine and stuff.
They do. They do. Lot 64. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah, it smells amazing in here. I may have to come in tomorrow.
We're doing a Black people tour of Old Salem.
How you know it's gonna ask that?
Yes, and so and so we were just sharing. I was like, yeah, Black church bought this, and he was like, for real? And I was like, yeah. Yeah,
They just literally opened back up.
See,
oh, really?
I was like,
December.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come and
Like,
check it out.
It's like a little plank right here. I don't know if I can really see it when it's closed, but it was made in 1860.
There you go.
Yeah.
But we got our kitchen and everything in 1868.
Nice.
So that's when we got our upgrades and everything.
Nice.
In 1968. Yeah.
Yeah,
1969. Yeah.
My bad.
No, you
That's
good,
okay.
you good.
It's an old house. It's an old house.
Upstairs is just more seating. Are people
It's
upstairs
bigger.
right now?
Yeah. No. You can
So we
go
go
upstairs.
upstairs. Let's check it out.
Let's go.
Nice. So we'll have to make sure that we encourage individuals to come here.
Absolutely. I need to come eat.
You say you need to come eat?
I do. That pork chop, that meatloaf look real good in the photo.
Yeah, it does. Wow.
So you smell it. You smell the old. Like these chairs, like all this was here. Like this stuff has been here. These aren't new,
It's dope. So listen, if y'all have any type of engagements, you want to come and have a nice place to come and eat, this is it.
We get the less unfortunate. We feed them up here and everything.
Oh, that's
What's
nice.
that on Sundays?
Sundays we feed like the less unfortunate.
Yeah.
We bring them up here. Had it on here.
Okay.
That's lovely.
Our second kitchen in here.
Second kitchen? Okay.
And our bathrooms. And then upstairs is our attic.
Okay.
If you guys want to look up.
Yeah. Now, are you a fan of history?
No, I just found out.
Okay, but you're telling the people, so that's good. You're telling the people. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
My manager said we had like stewards.
It's old.
Like back in the day, this is where the rooms would be in here.
Oh.
And like, you know the little cup things downstairs?
Yeah.
I can show you how.
Okay.
This is
So
old.
is it
Look
working
at
here?
these
Does this make you become a little bit more interested in history?
Wow, look at these.
Okay.
Wow, this door. Wow.
Yeah, this is dope. We appreciate this. What's your name?
Maya.
Maya? Okay.
Maya.
My niece's name is Maya.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine's just spelled with you.
Okay.
So I can show you. They don't have them up here. Because it's like little doors above the fireplaces. It's like where they kept like the napkins, like the towels and everything.
Okay. Oh, like right here.
Oh.
Okay.
Like where they used to keep the this one's hard to open there.
So this is where they kept all the utensils and stuff.
The
Where-
towels and everything.
Okay.
The fireplace.
Yeah. That's what's up.
That's cool.
Yes.
I love it. And I love that it's making you more interested in history.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially like fire people back in the day.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you
Yes,
for
thank you,
showing us
Maya.
around.
Of course.
Appreciate
great.
you, Miss Maya. Yes, we will be back.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Good too.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna
Oh, I
check it
can
out.
tell from the picture that meatloaf.
The meatloaf.
I can
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
from the photo.
That's what's up. Now, do y'all use breading for the meatloaf?
He's gluten free.
Oh, good. Oh, I can eat it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's smoked before the barbecue.
Can I order something to go?
Yeah.
Let me put an order right now
Go
to go.
for it.
Except the.
Actually, let me get
I feel like
Let me
y'all got
get
some good cabbage.
3.
In my
let me
mind,
get
I can
2
tell.
orders of
I
these.
can tell what's good here just from the vibes. Just right.
Yeah. Where the size at? Let's do cabbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it
It's
have,
gluten free.
pork in it? Does cabbage have pork? Does cabbage have pork in it? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So let's do cabbage. Let's do cabbage, and let's do the green beans. Same thing for both.
I like green beans are good
And
too.
it's
Yeah.
What do y'all taping for?
So I run a Black cultural nonprofit in town. We just restored the Shotgun House over in Happy Hill. And so we're just telling the story of the Black experience in Salem and tying it to Happy Hill to today. And it's talking about how well preserved Old Salem is. But even though Happy Hill is just as old, it looks how it looks. Right across the, literally, if you go through the traffic circle, you know, like down by the Y, if you go off to the left, like right behind those trees, like behind the gas station, it's that neighborhood that's all back there.
Oh, okay.
So we
Are
go
we
into
good?
the car.
Should we
Yep.
keep going? We should go. Okay, we go to the car. Okay,
I
so
don't
let me
know,
just
where
ask
is the
this.
car?
So,
where is
damn,
this?
it's over there.
It's all one block over, but I'm like, I don't remember where
Yeah.
we parked.
Actually, we should be able to cut through
Oh no,
here.
it's right here. The car's right here. It should be. Cause then we, right?
We're down here, actually.
That should, our car's right here.
Damn, it's right here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, we
All right,
should
so we
be
gotta
right
close
here.
out this segment though. We can't just
Okay,
have it.
sure. All
So,
right, no
so
problem.
this is paint the scene as this.
Yeah.
You see downtown
Yes,
the
you do.
newness, and then you see the oldness. So if you can dive into just having these two dichotomies.
Yeah, so it's the idea of like a main street. I think like all main streets are historical in that there was a reason why they were chosen as the main street. So for us, it was because it ran through Old Salem, and the town square where we started this, you know, is right off here. And so we just kind of kept that going. And so the building I live in, which is the former headquarters for RJR, circling back to the whole tobacco thing in Camel City, is literally on this street. And it's also the model for the Empire State Building, fun fact.
Fun fact.
So it's interesting because when you said, oh, Old Salem, initially said, you know, Old
Yeah.
Salem outside of city limit, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, this is prime Winston, because the way that it happened was consolidation, and there's a town car behind you, but I think you got room. In the same way that, you know, New York City in 1898, whatever it was, there was the consolidation. It was the same thing with Winston and Salem. Winston was its own town where R.J. Reynolds was building his tobacco empire. Salem was its own town where the Good Moravians were doing what they do with tinsmithing and pottery, right, and all that kind of stuff. And then there was a consolidation. That's when it became Winston-Salem. So like the reason why it's called Winston-Salem is because of this place, and the reason why the main street of our town, which goes all the way to literally the city limits edge south, it's literally the first exit you get to on US 52 when you come into town, because of this development. So it very much is like a continuous line of thought of the thoughts and the empires and that were built and roots that were established here in Salem literally just sort of sprung up. You almost can see them as trees. They almost look like trees in that way, sort of sprung up and became empires of banking, just looking at the Wachovia building, you know, empires of tobacco. So it all is rooted in the Moravian history here.
That's what's up. And you all, so I did just order some food, as you may have heard from the Tavern that a church had purchased. And so I'm looking forward to chow down with that. So that's it for Old Salem.
That's right.
And now we're going to swing over to Happy Hills.
Okay, we good?
All right, so now we're going to Happy Hills.
Yes, we are. And in the process of riding over, we are literally going to go over the creek that separates the two. And actually, I want to make a quick detour. We're actually going to go this way. Yeah, because I want us to go through the bridge. You go this way. Okay, technically, yep.
Yeah,
that's my
fault.
To go. Yeah.
Or they were?
No?
I
don't know. It's I don't know exactly. So behind these trees is that creek. And so actually, we're going to go over a bridge that will take us right across the creek. This is home church behind us up the hill there that we were just at. So this is the bottom of that path that we were just looking at, which leads right across the creek to this bridge that we're about to pop over to really quickly. I'm just taking you the kind of efficient way. We could have like gone inside and walked to this bridge, but what we're gonna do is just park in this bank parking lot, and we're gonna go kind of cut behind because the bridge is like literally right there. So yeah, just parking here. They're used to people parking here and walking. Yeah. And also this is a city facility, so I pay my taxes. Thank you very much.
For sure.
So great.
All right, let's park right here. Get out and do our thing.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that meatloaf.
Yeah,
smoked meatloaf.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
That's novel.
It's not just regular meatloaf, y'all. It is smoked meatloaf.
It is.
So let's hop out the ride. We're at a bank, but unfortunately, we ain't here to get no money.
No. We actually like to keep our money in the bank. We don't like to take it out.
Yeah, but
I think that's actually best practice is to keep as much in the bank.
I need to take care of, so pretty dope to have that. All right, so where we going?
All right, sweet. So just really want us to take that walk. So what we're looking at is literally the back of Salem College. That's the old academy building where the girls used to be. That's the building that I was in.
Okay.
When I was at the academy. I also played tennis, so I'm very endeared to these courts. These are literally the courts I learned how to play tennis on. Big shout out to Venus and Serena for being role models and examples. And oh my God, the black girl in me is like, girl, did you really walk out into this grass with these fresh sneakers
Shoes on? Right. See,
wow.
They're brand new, y'all.
Well, I am failing. I'm losing my black card right now.
It's all good.
Y'all, please forgive me.
It hasn't been raining, so
that's true. That's true. It's been a couple days.
Yeah. So people would walk from there, and this is the trail that they would walk. So we're literally walking the same footprints in which these individuals did.
Yeah, I also have my citizenship in Ghana. You know how there's like those sort of, those last step walks, you know? This is the same thing, but like steps of life, in that this is what they did on a daily basis. This is how they lived by choice, So as they were moving back and forth, they had to cross this creek. And for a long time, there was no bridge here. It was just the creek. And people were breaking ankles, breaking limbs. And you'll see in a second sort of how deep the ravine is here. And Wade Bidding, a Happy Hill resident, went to the city of Winston-Salem and said, "Hey, I need a bridge for my people." Yeah. And to this day stands the Wade Bidding footbridge, which was specifically built here so that people could commute from Salem into Happy Hill. So our ancestors, you know, in the late 1800s who are making this journey, they were coming down. You see this bank, you know, imagine.
So let me, so prior to this bridge, which is the Wade Bidding Bridge, folks would come from Salem College.
That's right. Working.
Black folks working class, and they would have to cross this bridge. Well, the bridge wasn't here. The creek was here, and they would have to experience all the things, the snakes and the summer, being wet, just to get from Salem College to their homes.
Yeah, to get from work to home. This was their commute. Like literally, this was the y'all sitting in, you know, hour-long commutes in Atlanta, you know, this was their commute.
And how recent was this?
Because
this bridge was put up not too long ago, right?
Yes, there is a marker that says on the other side that says the exact year. I don't want to get lying to you.
Right.
I count on these markers so I don't have to hold so much in my head. But you can see how wide the creek. It's not like a tiny creek.
No,
you know what I'm saying? But you can see how wide it is. I mean, it's decent enough water and it's shallow enough. But even here, you can see how steep the banks are. And imagine having to do this just to get to work. Right. Some of the college girls are coming behind us, about to use the running path.
Here we go. Wade Bidding right there.
That's him.
He stopped the foolishness.
That's he did. He said, I got a bridge. My people need a bridge. It was installed 1936.
Bet. Everyone knows I'm a sucker for historical markers. Like if you go to my Instagram page, Facebook page, you will see plenty of shots of historical markers, that's for sure. And I would have stopped here anyway because it's a historical marker, but this actually adds to the content in which we've in which we've been talking about on this video, and that is Happy Hill. So, dun, 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 there it is.
The first planned Black community in all of Winston-Salem.
In 1872.
There you go.
The Moravians agreed to sell lots on the farm, many to African Americans. By 1874, the name Happy Hill was used for the neighborhood, which grew steadily between 1880 and 1920. The city's first public housing development began in Happy Hill during the 1950s. About half of the neighborhood houses were demolished at the time, and majority of the remainder has since been lost.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah.
How about that whole lack of preservation thing?
Yeah.
And also the space where a lot of that public housing is still empty to this day.
Really?
You're gonna see some efforts from groups like Habitat for Humanity, which are trying to address that. And even what you're seeing the back of here are basically what is the next generation / what was left or is left of Happy Hill Gardens, AKA the public housing portion of the neighborhood. And even people who live in Happy Hill, they split it into two. They say there's old Happy Hill and new Happy Hill. So this sort of side of it where there are apartments like this and the apartment complex just beyond this is for our seniors, sort of older living, you know what I'm saying, senior living facility. So this is the new Happy Hill, and then the old Happy Hill where the shotgun house is primarily homes.
Okay.
So that's the big sort of distinction that you're going to see from one side of the neighborhood to the other.
Okay, gotcha. So we're walking it the rest of the way here?
No, we're just going up to this historic marker. There's one more marker right here. You can kind of where it's you see it?
Yep.
It's just and then we'll drive up.
All right, cool. So I see the distinction where some folks may say this is new and other parts old.
Yes, and so what happened in these woods is what I really want us to talk about.
Okay.
This is the site of the first African school. As we think about segregated education and post-emancipated Salem, this is what they built for our young people. This was also the spring, thus the creek. So, and apparently it's still a hangout spot.
Yeah. Clearly.
I don't know how to get down there, but.
Yeah. The Brother Spring and African School. Yeah. Freedmen of the area and Salem African Church, St. Phillips, where we were just at, established the first school for their children in the county. The spring was included in the land provided by the Salem Moravian congregation, and the African American community raised funds for the building known as the Freedmen School, the Colored School, and the African School. The one-story frame, bell-towered school was used until a new school opened in 1890, circa 1890.
Yes. And I'll send you a picture of what that school looked like.
All right, dope.
So you can show it on the screen.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, these woods can talk, right?
For real.
I wonder if did they ever do any type of ground penetrating radar or anything like that to look and see? No?
You know, they do not care about black people.
Listen, I'm the king of wishful thinking sometimes.
I love that.
I try
would
to.
love to live in that world that you're building in your mind.
But trust me, it fades very quick when I start thinking, it's just a quick sense of euphoria that, hey, this could potentially be, right?
Yes, even that's something that we need to do a more diligent job of on our site is doing more of that. But even if we do, one of the
I'm gonna get a picture of the marker too.
Sure.
Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, I forgot to get a picture of it.
Even as we were restoring the shotgun house, we had to do a lot of education, even with our contractor, of being like, just because it's an old handle doesn't mean you throw it away. That's why we're trying to keep that kind of stuff, right? And so it's even the education of like materials and so there's just a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of valuing Black objects and Black vernacular life.
Yeah.
Originally we were going to move the shotgun houses over here to make them a little more accessible, but this is actually a floodplain. I'm sure you can kind of imagine and kind of even see from inside the track that the water table is very, very high here. So it just wasn't sustainable for us to put an old house on some sinking land.
No.
And then this land behind you is what I was talking about in terms of how it's mostly empty still, but there's some work being done in terms of putting new homes here.
Okay.
The city has certainly continued to invest in its, from the Parks and Rec perspective, like we've got the rec center here, which is open until 3 o'clock every day. Oh, it's 4. Oh, yeah. Oh, you might be closing. Yeah, they must be closed. And then the splash pad, which is across the way.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, and so now we're getting into true old Happy Hill. And the bridge the path we were just looking at is what's right down there.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're gonna make this right turn.
All right.
And this is like now when we make this turn, we're in like peak Schumann plantation. So we are on plantation grand.
Okay.
We are on a plantation right now.
And that surname is Schumann?
Schumann, S-C-H-U-M-A-N.
Is there a population of Black Schumans?
That's a great question. I don't believe I know any. I imagine they would have to exist, right?
Yeah.
But I certainly don't know any locally.
Okay.
But what happened, and this is the other marker, what happened after emancipation is they had all these freed people, right? And they're like, what are we going to do with these free Black people? I don't know if they can stay here. What are we going to do? And so they sent exiled, depending on, how you tell the story, folks back to Liberia.
Yeah.
And that is the connection between here and Liberia.
That's right across the street real quick. Let me check this out. And you had that Liberia movement that happened, of course, across the country,
Yes.
South Carolina,
Yes.
York County, South Carolina actually had the most folks from the United States to go to Liberia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but enslavers were, of course, former enslavers were trying to send them as a good faith thing after emancipation.
There you go.
But the reality is they wanted them just out of this country.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You could call it repatriation.
Right.
You could call it exile.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it just kind of depends on who tells the story.
For sure. And there's some new houses that are over there.
Yes, and these are habitat. These are Habitat for Humanity homes.
Okay.
100%. These are affordable housing up here. I always joke that I tell Cheryl, our founder, I'm like, oh, Cheryl, it's nice up here. I live up here. It's nice and quiet. Yeah. And she was like, they wouldn't let you in. And I'm like, you're right. You were very correct.
Man. And it's on Free Street is a cross section in Liberia, so that's what's up.
Exactly. So, like I said, these dogs are living their best. It is a nice day. Yeah. So, to this day, the Liberian Organization of the Piedmont, who, as you see, adopt a street, they've got their name there. They have actually just bought this lot across the street where they are going to be building international student dorming to build more of an exchange between the neighborhood and Liberia. And I know that the city sends a delegation of folks over to our sister city in Liberia every year. I was just telling the mayor, we had a meeting on Tuesday. I was like, look, the next Liberia trip, You need to invite me.
Yeah, for sure.
And even last time, he was like, I almost thought about inviting. I'm like, you should have.
Yeah.
You should
Why are
have. You need
playing?
me there.
Exactly.
What y'all even doing over there? For real, with our money. No, but actually, no, they really actually fund a project. Oftentimes it's like I've heard like they did some well work, you know what I'm saying, building some wells. I don't know what they do, but that's the other thing. I want to go over there and build roots, because if it were up to me, what should happen is there should be a literal repatriation, voluntary of course, right? Voluntary repatriation program between Black folks in Winston-Salem and Liberia. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get my Liberian citizenship through this relationship.
Yeah.
That's where my head is.
I feel you.
But Ghana got me first, so what can I say?
There you go.
God bless our homeland, Ghana. So this room was the bed. So that room would have been the living room. Functionally, I'll share this. Functionally, that would have been the living room. This is the bedroom, which is why you see some things in here that speak to that. Okay. And then in the back room, of course, is our kitchen. And so within each space is different curation talking about activism in food and how that goes together. Behind you, we're talking about things like Carolina barbecue and how that was important. And I always struggle to pull these up, but through here you can see our garden, which is out back. And so we were really intentional about thinking. I'm actually the team gardener. I'm an okra girl myself, and so actually you can kind of see behind here some pickled items, right? And the more that I garden, the more I understand these things, because the earth really does produce some. I have so much okra and tomatoes and stuff that I'm literally calling my mom, like, can you please come get these green tomatoes? I've got 10 of them and I don't know what to do.